still breaking out. You know what? It's okay. It's okay. I'm just waiting for email to show. Yay! We got the email. We got the email. Okay. I know that's gonna be really funny to start out this stream. So, let me pull up my bullet points here because I got a lot to discuss today and I want to make sure I say everything. And yes, I put a graphic warning in the title because later on in this video, I will be showing some pretty graphic things. And it's gonna be quick. And I had to look at it just a moment ago. I'm gonna close my eyes while I scroll up. Okay, because it actually does make me feel sick to look at that. Sorry. Whew. So this is not going to be an easy lightweight thing. The reason why the chat is off is because this is one of those things where I'm just going to be preaching, because that's my channel name, Preach the Truth. And I'm going to just be sharing some facts. And I know this is like we need more discussion than I have the chat to say, which is kind of funny. But it's one of those things where I have a lot to say and I don't want it to be 3 hours of talking, especially since my phone will not last that long. So feel free to comment in the comments, but other than that, it's just kind of like I can't afford to be distracted, because this whole thing was inspired by a talk I had with a friend about politics, and in that I got a bigger perspective. Now keep in mind, my stance on stuff didn't really change, but I was able to get more information, and I was able to have a better understanding. We need more discussions where people are not degrading to the other side and ignoring the facts that support their perspectives. We need to have more discussions where we go into things to learn and to understand, even if our position does not change. Because if we don't do it, then violence happens. And we have seen that. And I know it can be hard for some to articulate the facts. So here's an easy way to do it. It's very simple and straightforward. It's according to the source, the statement. And I'm actually going to go into a big discussion. You guys will see that later on. But this makes it clear to the other side that your stance is researchable. That you're not pulling stuff out of your feelings. That you got facts on your side. And then also asking people for their own source can be a great way for you to be like, oh, okay, they're not doing that either. Which is good. Because then you get to determine whether or not their stance is rooted in researchable facts or anecdotal evidence. If you don't know what anecdotal evidence is, it's basically feelings, personal experience, that sort of thing. And little side note on that, there's something called an anecdotal fallacy. It's where you take the experience of one thing and apply it to a whole thing. For example, I'm going to use a pretty graphic example. There was a black person who sliced the Ukrainian woman on a train. It would be anecdotal to say all black people are like that when they're not. That's a fallacy. And I've noticed that a lot of people are doing that with a lot of other things. And I'm sure you guys can notice that too. So, what happens sometimes is when people are trying to have these discussions, people don't do that. And they just instead do this and say screw you to the other side and just be hateful and ridiculous and mean. And this happens right and left. I've experienced it from the left, and I have seen right people do the same thing, where they outright dismiss the points being made by the other side because of the just being hateful in general. And the reason why that happens is because they'll see something that makes them upset. For example, the example I brought up earlier, how there was that Ukrainian woman that got killed. And that only hardens their emotion resolve, or their emotional resolve and stuff. So they're just kind of like, yeah, this is happening. There's no other thing about it. And instead of, talking things through, they just continue to see those stuff, and their stance gets harder and impossible to discuss with. And we do see that in response to the ICE agents as of late, and also the increased racially and religiously motivated killings done by minorities. Unfortunately, with this, if you tend to follow left-leaning news sources or right-leaning news sources, you only get little bits and pieces of important information that's really designed to push a narrative. That's another reason why we need to have these discussions, so we can have a bigger picture, because there was a significant fact that in my discussion with my friend that I didn't know because it wasn't being talked about. It wasn't part of the narrative that was being pushed. And in that, it was actually, we were discussing the ICE stuff, and I didn't know that in regards to detention centers, a majority of claims about sexual abuse is not even being investigated. Now, sure, people can lie and people do lie, but we figure that out by investigation, not dismissing it. And that's very concerning, and it makes me pissed off. So if I do get a little bit emotional, please excuse me, because, whew. And yes, you can research that for yourself. But I will say there are some things, like how the left-leaning news sources are really emphasizing currently how Alex, is it Pretty or Pretty, I don't know, that's bad. That's really bad. I'm sorry. But how he got shot and killed is another huge example of ICE acting inappropriate. But the Department of Homeland Security says something else, and they provided no evidence thus far that I've seen that supports their stance. And the video evidence we do have says something else. But here's the thing, right-leaning people, some of them, not all of them, because I'm right-leaning and I'm not one of them, and some right-leaning people don't buy the video evidence and don't buy the leftists saying, hey, watch the video and see for yourself, because of how they responded to Renee Good in left-leaning media. For example, CNN says mother of three who loved to sing and write poetry, shot and killed by ICE in Minneapolis, conveniently left out the part where she was actively committing several, or multiple, it was 2 from what I could tell, federal felonies in the name of protesting. By physically blocking with her car, refusing to move back when she was ordered to, and driving towards the agent with another agent at the door, which violates 18 U.S. Code, I don't know how to say that next symbol, it's 1501 and 111. You can research that up for yourself. Those are federal felonies that she was going to be charged and arrested for. But instead, she chose to do whatever in the name of protesting and ended up getting killed, which is wrong. She shouldn't have gotten killed. But there's a way to handle those things without committing felonies. But left-leaning media don't mention that. They conveniently leave that out. And so everything's just so weird with that. But then they don't pay attention to what's happened with Alex Pretty. And it's just a vicious circle where they don't believe, and they're being overdramatic, and everything gets worse. Now, one key thing of why this keeps happening is because on the Democratic side, there are leaders reporting for pushback, which has resulted in violence. And I'm just going to list out some things. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called ICE law enforcement modern-day Gestapo. And then Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said for ICE to get the frick out of Minneapolis, I don't swear. And House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called for people to fight President Trump's agenda in the streets. I apologize if I mispronounced this name, but Governor Pritzker claimed that the United States is essentially becoming Nazi Germany as a result of ICE heroic efforts. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu compared ICE agents to a neo-Nazi group. Representative Becca Balint says that ICE law enforcement are vigilantes engaging in kidnapping. Are these statements just meant to be like, yeah, this is a little bit bad, so let's peacefully protest? No, it's causing people to go insane. And it's causing them to do things that probably shouldn't be done, which results in violence being done, which is only making the two sides get worse. And in fact, let me just give you some statistics from the Department of Homeland Security, which again, I'm a little bit skeptical because of the whole they have yet to provide evidence to support their side thing. But they were saying that from January 20th through December 21st, 2025, they reported 275 assaults compared to the 19 reported assaults from the year before. Thus, a 1,347% increase in assaults against ICE officers. And from January 21st, 2025 through January 7th, 2026, ICE law enforcement experienced 66 car attacks. Sorry, my brain does not want to work with my tongue sometimes. And then compared to the 2 from the year prior, for context, that's a 3,200% increase from the year before. But sure, it's harmless. It's peaceful. And this is the graphic warning that I'm about to show you guys. I just saw the picture. I'm so sorry. This actually makes me feel... Okay, I'm gonna have to scroll up while I say this. Holy crap. Give me a moment, guys. But these protesting, the people that they are defending, I'm going to show you what those people have done to the ICE agents. Now keep in mind, these people who are wanting a better place, most of them are. But some of them, which is why they need to go through legal channels, but the illegal ones that are also criminals and that are also bad, and these protesters are committing horrible acts. And this is a graphic warning, and I'm sorry, I'm still recovering from seeing the picture. I can't handle gross stuff like that. I'm just being upfront. And you guys are about to see it. So if you can't handle gross stuff, I encourage you guys to come back in like a minute. But this is from the Department of the Department Homeland Security thing. And this is the first one. I'm gonna let you guys read it. Is with a metal coffee cup causing 13 stitches. If you guys can't handle it, then don't look, but holy crap. And then a group of at least 10 individuals opened fire on ICE officers, peaceful protesting. Illegal alien viciously bit. And then a sniper shot at ICE. There's violent crowds who were throwing rocks and hurting them. And look at all these bad things that are happening. And this is what you guys are saying we should allow, that we should stop ICE. And I can understand having sympathy for people like, I'm sorry, I'm still recovering because that honestly makes me sick though. The first picture was horrible, but those are ICE agents that are getting hurt. Those are human beings. Just like how Alex Petty was a human being who got hurt by ICE agents. There are bad people on both sides. But here's the thing. Regarding all these immigrants who are wanting a better place to live, you can get a green card. And if you're in danger, you can request asylum. And you can, I briefly looked into the specific practices of it, but you can do an aggressive or defensive asylum. There are alternative ways for you to come into the country that isn't illegal. And, sorry, I'm just still grossed out from that. It's flashing in my mind. I'm so sorry. But the thing is, that's not the only bad thing that's been going on, where there are people getting pepper sprayed and are hurt by these ICE agents, and the ICE agents are also being hurt. But people are lying. Just like how the Department of Homeland Security was lying about, or not outright lying, allegedly lying. They have yet to provide proof. Regarding Alex Preddy, the police chief of Minneapolis claimed that people were being racially profiled. But the American Immigration Council reported regarding Torrance County Detention Facility that 86% of the detainees were white. Now, are there those who are racially profiling or like going off of accent and stuff? Sure, I wouldn't doubt that because there are bad people and everything. But just claim that that is the bigger thing. If we're to only be in, largely liberal cities, that makes me believe that there's some dishonesty going on there. Anyways, I know I've talked for 16 minutes, but that was a lot, and I'm just, whew. I would like to say, though, that Cato Institute reports that 73% of detainees that are in the detention centers where sexual abuse is occurring and it's not getting investigated, or allegedly occurring, because people can be lying, but we don't know because nothing's getting investigated. But 73% of detainees are not committed with a violent crime outside of illegal immigration, which I can understand people are saying they just want a better place to live. Well, get a green card, request asylum, apply for citizenship. Those are processes available that, yes, could use some reforming to speed up the process a little bit and to get rid of all the backlog. But you can go through those legal avenues so we wouldn't have this problem. But instead, everything's just getting worse. The leaders are fueling into the narrative, and the media is fueling into the narrative while dismissing and ignoring just facts and other atrocities happening. And it's just a vicious cycle that's getting worse. And that is why we need to be having these discussions. To talk with people who think differently than you, who have a different perspective than you, so then you can have more facts than feelings and one-sided truths, if that makes sense. I am going to get out of here, though, because I actually feel really sick. I cannot handle any gore whatsoever, and that's why there was a graphic warning. So I'm going to get going so I don't throw up.